Minecraft 1.18 added a bunch of new mountain and cave biomes, as well as overhauling terrain generation in the overworld as a whole, so in this video we're going to look at the top 5 new biomes added to Minecraft 1.18, starting right now. Coming in at number 5, we have the Meadow biome. Alright, here we are in the 1.18 Meadow biome. Now this biome is actually really cool, and there's a reason why I have it on this list, even though a lot of people would think of this as maybe a little bit more boring of a biome. And that's for several reasons. First of all, something you may have noticed is that this entire part of the meadow is spawning in literally only red poppies. However, if we go to a different section of the meadow biome, like for instance over here, you can see that it's spawning only alliums. Now it doesn't always have sections of just one type of flower, you may also find a section where it's kind of a mix of several different types. But how it does generate is every single section of the meadow biome will only have one mix or one type of flower. So for instance, you might have one type of meadow biome that just has the red poppy like this. You might have one type that always has sunflowers and poppies. You might find a type that only has cornflowers and poppies. Or you might find a type like this that's only alliums, but every single section of the meadow biome only spawns its one variety or mix of flowers, which is super cool. Secondly, something you probably have already noticed is the fact that villages are actually super common here. Now this is obviously pretty lucky here, but we actually have, I think, 4 blacksmiths in this one village, which is absolutely insane. And if we go over here, we can see there's actually another village over there as well. Now the other cool thing is that trees in this biome spawn really infrequently, but what makes that cool is the fact that every single tree inside of the meadow biome has a beehive in it. So this birch tree does. If we find another tree, like for instance maybe this one over here, you can already see as we get closer to it that there is a beehive in this one as well, and any other trees we find that spawn within this biome would have that property as well. Let's take a quick look at the colors of foliage. Now grass is a kind of normal greenish color that looks a little like the Extreme Hills grass, so nothing crazy there. The leaf color is kind of a normal green. This is the jungle leaves just as an example, but it's kind of, again, a color you'd expect, nothing crazy. However, the water in this biome is actually really cool because if we place it down, it's a very brilliant blue hue. In fact, the water in the new meadow biome is probably one of the darkest and most colorful of all the waters in Minecraft now, which makes it a really cool biome if you want a very rich and beautiful looking mountain stream, or just something with a really rich and colorful looking water. But other than that, this biome is somewhat similar to the plains biome, and does actually tend to generate around the plains biome. So if you see a plains biome, you will generally find a meadow biome around it now in 1.18. Just like this plains biome here, and you can see just across the water it bridges over here to the meadow biome. Coming in at number 4, we mine our way into the Dripstone biome. Now the Dripstone Caves are really cool biome that have been added to Minecraft 1.18. Of course, the most unique thing about this biome is the fact that this is not an overworld biome, this is actually a cave biome. In fact, turning on my F3 menu here, you'll actually see that the Dripstone Caves are its own biome, meaning if we went higher up or potentially lower down, this biome would actually change to the biome of the surface overworld type. So let's say if it's above there, it's a forest. Once we go into the cave, it'll be a Dripstone Caves biome. And then if we go below here to a different cave, or if we go to an area that's not Dripstone Caves, it'll revert back to the original biome above us. Now there's a lot of other really interesting things about this. For instance, copper is actually incredibly common in the Dripstone Caves. You'll notice here there's a huge amount of copper all around this entire biome. So we see some copper there, we see some copper over here, tons and tons of it really. Basically everywhere you look is copper in this amazing biome. And of course this cave is a decent example of what the Dripstone Caves look like, but you can even find caves in the Dripstone biome that are so incredibly large that's really breathtaking and kind of gives you that amazing traditional cave look that you might see in pictures of places in real life into Minecraft, making this an ideal place to build a base that you want to make look like a cave, or an awesome place just to experience some of the best parts of the Caves and Cliffs update, because the developers really did do an amazing job of making these look like real caves filled with stalactites and stalagmites in real life. This is the color of grass in the Dripstone Cave biome, this is the color of leaves, and this is the color of water, which looks very similar to the default ones of the plains biome. However, this is not a plains biome above us, it's a forest which has a bit darker of a grass hue, and if you compare the tone of this grass down here to this grass here, you can see that this grass is actually a lighter color, so it does not just have the grass color of the biome that's above it. Now, unfortunately, unlike the earlier snapshots of Minecraft 1.18, when Dripstone Caves and Lush Caves would make up about half to 2/3 of your caves, in Minecraft 1.18 release, this is unfortunately not the case, and Dripstone Caves as well as Lush Caves don't actually generate that common, so you may actually be traveling several thousand blocks to find one, or may have to dig in several different areas to find yourself this amazingly beautiful cave biome. Coming in at number 3, we have the beautiful Frozen Peaks biome. Now, this biome has nothing crazy about it, but it is honestly an amazing biome for several reasons. Number 1, this biome generates somewhat infrequently. In fact, something interesting you might not have guessed is the fact that in Minecraft 1.18, mountains are actually less common than in Minecraft 1.17. That might sound completely crazy, but a biome that is dedicatedly a mountain is actually a little bit less common. So, something like, let's say this little hill over here, or this little bit of the mega taiga here that's a little bit higher up, maybe at Y100 or so, that's not actually counted as a mountain biome. And of course, if you count that, there would be more mountains in Minecraft 1.18, but if we're counting only dedicated mountain biomes, there's actually less. Now on to the color of foliage. Grass seems to be an extremely grayish green color, very similar to the snow biomes, which isn't surprising considering that this is the Frozen Peaks. Water itself is also somewhat blue, but certainly not as blue as the Meadow, so basically just kind of your standard water color, although it is a little bit less kind of bright and brilliant as even, let's say, the water in a river. So it is honestly a kind of frozen-ish looking water, and I do believe it does freeze in this biome. And leaves look somewhat like the grass, where they're extremely off color, and in fact they're actually less colored than they would be over here in the Grove biome. And it's interesting because the color of these leaves is basically a mint green, which you don't really see in any other biomes. I mean, even the snow biomes don't have leaves that are this gray. But of course, leaves and water and grass are not the most interesting parts of a biome. The generation of it is. And let's actually take a look at what that is. It basically is large amounts of snow blocks with snow layers always on top of it. Then after about 3 or 4 layers of snow blocks, looks like about 3 layers here, we have the dirt underneath. That also generates the same way with this packed ice. So we have the packed ice here. If I think about 3 layers is the default from the top there. Might generate a little bit more, but it might also always just be 3. Well, there's 2 there, so it's a mix, but it's about 2 to 3 layers, maybe 4. And there's no snow that actually generates on top of the packed ice, whereas there is on top of the normal snow. But either way, we have this amazing landscape of tons and tons of packed ice, tons and tons of these full snow blocks, and you'll also find yourself some powdered snow that'll generate here somewhat commonly, and if not on this biome itself, certainly on the slopes that surround it. So it's always good to be careful when exploring in this particular biome. In fact, here's some powder snow right here. You might be saying, well, how do you know this is powdered snow? That's pretty simple. If we take a look at it compared to other snow, you'll notice there's more of these individual pixels in it. You'll notice that these large areas of blue are interrupted by these small dots of white. And the difference of this is if we double tap space and go in here, it is basically liquid. So we can actually go in here and we're starting to freeze solid, which is certainly not an ideal thing. You can actually see exactly how deep this is if we go out and start breaking this. We have 1, 2, 3, 4. So it looks like 4 is about how many layers this is going to have. But going inside of it, it functions just like traveling inside of a liquid. So Minecraft actually does have basically a third liquid in the game, which is powdered snow. And it basically functions that way too. Now, of course, it doesn't flow down, but it is an awesome block overall, and is a really interesting addition to this. And the way to get rid of it, if you don't want to have that terrorizing you, is simply to get yourself some leather boots. Throw those on your shoe slot right there, and you can walk right on top of it, and it says light as a rabbit, and that's your achievement, which is super cool because that's a way to avoid this very deadly powder snow, because if you go inside of it with the boots on, you will not freeze to death. You can also go up and down inside of it with those boots on, just as if it's scaffolding. As our notable mention for biomes in 1.18, we have the Jagged Peaks. Now this is just a variant of the Frozen Peaks that does not have any of the packed ice, and that generates a little bit steeper, so it has a little bit more of this exposed stone, and the snow is not quite as dense. Now this biome can generate into very sharp formations. Now these mountains are very similar to the biome that was voted in Minecon Live, the Snowier Snow back in the day, which eventually made the Caves and Cliffs update be what it is today. This biome spawns somewhat frequently, maybe a little bit less frequently than the snowy slopes, but is pretty common, and the colors of grass in it are basically identical to the snowy slopes, maybe a slight bit more green, but basically the same, with the water being the same color as well. Coming in number 2 on this list is the Lush Caves biome. Now this was a hard pick between this and choice number 1, but this certainly is one of the most beautiful biomes in the game now that we have Minecraft 1.18. You can see just the absolute gorgeous terrain that generates here, which basically has the main features of these amazing glowberry vines. We have these beautiful hanging flowers, the spore blossoms, that generate on top of a luxurious moss roof. We of course also have the azalea bushes and the flowering azalea bushes, not to mention a huge amount of the tall and normal grass. The drip leaves will also generate in the water here. But some of the coolest parts of the biome is the fact that this is the home of the axolotl and the glow squid. Now I can't actually see any here right now, but they do spawn quite commonly in this biome. Now this biome is unfortunately somewhat rare, just as with the Dripstone Cave biome, so it's not wise to expect this to spawn extremely frequently. But overall, it is a really amazing biome if you run into it, and once you've found an area that has it, it generally tends to spawn in quite a large area. This cave is actually somewhat light and has a very atmospheric look to it when mining around in here. In terms of colors of blocks, we have kind of a little bit of an actually off-green color for the grass, which I find surprising, since I would consider this biome to have a much greener color of grass considering it is the Lush Caves. But no, we have that color. Of course, the water is basically your normal color, nothing crazy there. And the leaves are probably just kind of your normal green, certainly not as off-green as the grass. There also are occasional vines that generate in this biome, and overall it's just an amazing biome to find if you are caving. Could be perfect for any type of base, and it really has an amazing aesthetic, especially considering that if you found this biome in a super large cave, you could have huge amounts of these different features generating across a massive, almost city-sized gap that you could build whatever you wanted in. Coming in at number 1, we have the Stony Peaks biome. And you may be saying this is a rather odd pick for biome number 1 for all the biomes added in Minecraft 1.18, and I'll admit it is. This is actually a very rare and hard to find biome, as well as kind of a weird biome. This biome spawns when the game wants to put a large, spiky mountain in a biome that is not cold, so having a lot of snow on top of it wouldn't make a lot of sense. So for instance, this biome generates around the jungle and the savanna, and it really wouldn't make sense if you had lots of snow with mountains next to the savanna. But anyway, this biome actually has a lot of very unique features that make it number 1 on this list, one of which is actually the color of grass. Now I know I've been focusing on the grass colors a lot, but considering these are brand new biomes, these are colors of grass we wouldn't normally have in the game. Like this color right here. This really interesting lime green, yet a little bit off green color is what we have for the Jagged Peaks biome. This is a lot different than any other color of grass in the game. It's actually been likened to the color of grass in Bedrock Edition's Shattered Savanna, and it is a really interesting color to have. Now in terms of generation, it's very similar to the Jagged or the Snowy Peaks, somewhat of a variant of one of those, but there's no snow, no ice, and no powder snow, which makes this actually an incredibly safe biome. Also, it could basically be used as a huge open pit mine. Why? Because there's huge amounts of iron, huge amounts of coal, and surprisingly large amounts of emeralds even, that generate across this entire mountain biome. One of the most unique parts of this biome, if not the most unique part, is the calcite strips that go through it, or the veins of calcite that generate in this biome. What's this? It's not snow, it's actually calcite. You may even be wondering what calcite is. Well, calcite is one of the blocks that in 1.17, and of course 1.18, generates around the geodes, but that's actually the only place it generates. So if you want a large section of it, you actually can't get it anywhere but from a geode, until now, because in this biome we have these beautiful veins of calcite that generate right through this mountain biome. So you can have this amazing mountain biome that has no snow on it. We just have these huge stony jagged peaks that are perfect for a tropical area or a savanna biome. And going through it, we have these beautiful veins of calcite, which really puts the cherry on the cake for me, making this the number 1 biome for Minecraft 1.18. Interestingly enough, no structures actually generate here, except for the very, very occasional pillager outpost, and there's actually no trees, no grass, and very, very infrequent dirt that even generates here. This is truly one of the most barren of the Minecraft biomes. I actually really like it, because I feel like there's huge biomes like this, that are basic, and yet in their basicness have some of the most beautiful features in the entire game. But enough about what I think. What do you think of Minecraft 1.18's amazing new biomes? Which is your favorite? Make sure to tell me in the comments below. Anyway, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video about my top 5 favorite biomes in Minecraft 1.18. If you did, make sure to press the like button. Make sure to comment down what your favorite biome is and why, and make sure to share this video to your friends to make it reach more people. Hopefully you guys have a great day, and I'll see you later. Goodbye!